Hi there, my name is Ben Rothschild. I'm a high schooler from Atlanta, Georgia, and I love to build electronics. Today I'd like to tell you about the Chipper board. This is a circuit board that I designed to allow you to program ATtiny chips with either an Arduino or AVR programmer. When I first started programming ATtiny chips, it was a real hassle. There were breadboards, jumper wires, resistors, and capacitors everywhere. And while I've got nothing wrong with those, I thought I could make that a lot cleaner. And that's why I created this board. You just plug it right into your Arduino, plug the chip right into the DIP socket, and there you go. That's all you have to do. Just click upload and your program's up and running. It can even run directly on this board. It's got a reset pin so you can reset the chip mid-program, 2 LEDs for indication and debugging, a broken out sensor port so you can plug a sensor directly in, and it's got a proto area so you can house that sensor with broken out power and ground. The reward for the Chipper Shield come in a number of different levels. First and foremost is a handwritten thank you note and your name on the Chipper website. I hope you'll please support me, and every little bit counts. Next is the Chipper Kit Early Backers. It contains a kit of all the parts you need to assemble the board, which means that you have to solder it together yourself, but since all the parts are spaced relatively far apart in our through hole, it shouldn't be too difficult to solder together even for a beginner. As thanks for your early backing, I'll include the ATtiny 85. Next up is the Chipper board assembled. You'll receive a finished board that I soldered together looking exactly like this, ready to use the second you get it out of the mail. Next is the Chipper board personalized. This means that as soon as the Kickstarter is hopefully funded, at the end of that, I'll send you an email and we'll discuss your own personalization for the board. This can include support for additional ATtiny chips or different silkscreen text, really any ideas that you have that you'd like to see added onto the board. And I'll send you that finished product for you to use. Lastly, I've included a reward where you can purchase some of the ATtiny chips necessary to get your project up and running. This includes one each of the ATtiny 85, 84, and 2313. Here we have an IR sensor right here. It's connected to the sensor output on the Chipper board, and it's 5 volts and ground are also running to it. What I've done here is set it up so this LED will turn on every time this senses IR light. It's kind of like acting like a button. So when I click the remote, it stays on for a second, turns off. I click it again, once more. Here we have an ATtiny 85 running the example fading script from the Arduino software. All I've done is change the LED pin from 9 to 4, and as we can see, the LED has a nice breathing effect as it slowly fades from on to off. At this point you might be wondering, well, how do I assemble my Chipper board? How do I get the software up and running? How do I upload my first script? Well, don't worry. I've created a series of guides that include assembly instructions, uploading your first script, burning bootloaders, and some examples including sensors. These are all available on the Chipper website. Now that you've seen a couple examples of ATtiny chips in action, I'd like to try and answer a few more of your questions. First and foremost, when will I receive my Chipper board? The answer to that is in mid-July if you live in the US. If you live internationally, I expect that you'll receive it by the end of July. Next, when can I see the Eagle files that this board was built on? As soon as this Kickstarter campaign is successfully funded, I'll release all of the files on the Chipper website.